What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Cruisin Cripples. He is the debonair disabled, the one and only KB. I don't know who I am this week. I'm Josh. I'm Mr. Papa Wheelie. Whatever you want to call me. Welcome back to episode 2 of the relaunch of the Cruisin Cripples here on KB. What are we on now? How many different platforms are we on? I can't keep track of this.
We are on Anchor.fm.
Okay.
However, through them, we are redistributed on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, and a host of other sites. So I think there's at least 9 locations where you can listen to this podcast. But you could just go to the cruisincripples.com and you can find our podcast right there.
Awesome. So that is a new development in itself, if I'm not mistaken. Us getting a .com. Weren't we always something .com?
We were always .something.com just because I could never afford. I was poor. I was a cripple poor.
Yeah, and he was so poor he couldn't afford the extra vowel to be poor.
Exactly. So, through being able to be gainfully employed, got a little extra money at the end of my month, and was able to buy a .com for us.
Right on. KB is the man. He's the one who's been keeping this ship sailing for the past 8 years or so, and I'm in debt and very grateful for that. But I'm excited to be back. We do want to thank the sevens and sevens of people that decided to listen to us on literally almost every podcasting site out there. We do want to send a very special thank you to Anchor for allowing our podcast to be distributed on so many different avenues. It gives us a chance to be heard by the masses. Whether that's a good thing or not, that's up for you guys to decide, but we definitely are very appreciative.
Yeah, it's a great thing, and the fact that they do all the work for us,
that's even better.
We provide the content, and then they share it out, and they distribute the RSS feed to the different podcast directories, and you can go, and wherever podcasts are heard, you can probably find us.
That's really cool. It's just I don't remember if we touched on this last week, but it's very interesting to kind of come back for our rebuild to come back now. I feel like we were, and I don't want to give us too much credit because I just don't. But at the same time, I feel like we were kind of revolutionary in what we are doing. We were doing podcasts before podcasts were podcasts. And I think we had some pretty revolutionary ideas that are being used in today's society. We're definitely not the forefathers or anything. I don't feel we had enough of a following or anything. But I definitely feel that KB and I have a decent understanding of what's happening today because of the work we put in so many years ago, and I'm excited for the future.
As am I, and the thing that's nice is, back in 2007, we didn't know what we didn't know.
Exactly.
I didn't know anything about microphones and headphones and equipment that you need, and
right.
One of the nice things, especially with where I'm at in my life now, getting to learn about all of those things. So in the time that we've been away not doing a podcast, I've been able to learn about different microphones and different polar patterns of what directions pick up the best sound and what podcasting equipment is available now. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Are you not entertained?
Sorry, I'm good.
Wake up.
Sorry. All right, sorry. My bad. No, but that's kind of, I think, what makes us a good duo here. You're into all that production stuff. I'm more of I care about the on-air content. So it's a good team. I do want to throw this out there, throw in a little bit of an audible. I do want to also thank our third member of the team who will probably be joining us here in a few months once we get a little bit more acclimated. I definitely want to thank the what was she called? The billionaire
No,
princess or
she
some
was the
shit?
she was the PR princess.
The PR princess. I don't know where I got the money from, but the PR princess. Definitely want to thank Chris for all that she did helping us when our show was going before, and all the work that we're going to make her do for this show in the future.
Yeah, and believe me, there is no money involved. She is not a billionaire princess.
No.
We are not
Well, I
paying.
mean,
We are not paying her. We have not been paid. So
no. I mean, there is money involved, but it's usually comes out of her pocket. So, thanks, Chris.
Right.
Appreciate that. But we've got an awesome team. I'm excited for the future. I know I've said that a couple times, but I just can't reiterate that enough how excited I am for this. But enough babbling. Let's get into some
get
hot
on
topics.
with it already. Good God.
Well, you're the one who put me to sleep.
You're putting me to sleep.
Now you know how it feels. You turd monkey. I don't know what the hell a turd monkey is.
Turd monkey?
I'm just making stuff up.
You could at least call me a dung beetle. That would make sense.
I don't know enough about bugs, but anyway. Well, monkeys throw turds. I don't know, dude.
I don't know, but
I haven't finished my coffee.
no, and it is what it's noon. Well, it's noon where you are right now,
It is noon where I am.
so you shouldn't need coffee. You should already be up and ready to go.
No.
No,
No, I don't have enough coffee, or I don't have enough blood in my coffee system right now. I need to kind of balance that out and probably drink a little less coffee.
probably a
So,
good idea.
Yeah, we'll see. So I'm trying to sip it.
But we got some good things, I think, on tap today. We're going to talk a little bit about some disability issues and then some other issues that are more along the lines of just general information, not really disability related. So I think it's going to be a interesting discussion, which hopefully people will, when they listen, will provide their opinions and share some of their feedback with us.
Absolutely, and I do have, again, I told KB before we went on air, I got a couple audibles that I may want to get into at the end, just for fun's sake, for discussion purposes. We may get into some of that. So let's go with it, KB. What you got on tap first?
Oh, the thing I have on first is one I wanted to, and I'll throw a little bit of an audible your way.
Cool.
I wanted to make mention that through Anchor, you can make donations to the show,
Okay.
which made me think of a lot of creators tend to go and use Patreon, which, if you're not familiar with Patreon, I look at it as kind of a GoFundMe for
That's
creative,
kind of what it is, yeah.
for creative types.
Or porn people.
But and
Not
that's,
that I would know anything about.
and that's what I want to get into, is because there's people that I follow that you and I have both met, not involved in porn in any sort of way, but their content is like on the more risque scale.
Yeah.
So, lingerie shoots and all that sort of stuff. And so you're getting people to pay for that content. To me, it is kind of like a pornography, like an acceptable form of pornography.
I believe the one specific person you're talking about that we've met does live here in Vegas, and I know exactly who you're speaking of.
And to me, it just kind of cheapens the website in a sense, because I know people that use Patreon, for their creative outlets in graphic design and woodworking and physical manual labor that they do. It's
Sure.
It's they create art for people, and not saying that people can't appreciate lingerie shoots, but I don't think that's what the site was intended for, and I feel like it kind of just cheapens the work that everybody else is trying to get out there by having these people pay $5, $10, $20 a month to have different levels of support, and with each level of support, you get different types of access to that person. I just feel like it's cheap and it's kind of slimy and disgusting for me.
I don't necessarily disagree with any of your assessments there. I think there's so many levels to that one. I don't even know how to, um, I guess, properly articulate how many different concerns there are with that. First of all, if there's a beautiful woman or a good looking dude, I don't really care, who is able to promote themselves in a way and either make a living or make extra income by showing pictures of themselves and get the money, and people are willing to pay and they'll get money for it. Hey, more power to you. You be a hustler. You do what you got to do. Um, on that same token, when it comes to the artistic nature that you feel Patreon was intended for, I really think it unfortunately comes down to the fact that a lot of people want something for nothing,
Mm-hmm.
in the regards that, oh, you have a woodworking business, can I get that for a discount?
Oh yeah.
Instead of paying full price for a friend's piece of work,
Mm-hmm.
instead of paying wholesale prices at a Home Depot
Sure.
or Lowe's or wherever, Kohl's, wherever the place may be.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a bigger issue when it comes to things that are being made,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to pictures. And look, we live in the era of TMZ. We live
Mm-hmm.
in the era of wanting to be in every celebrity's lives. If these celebrities or pseudo celebrities or minor celebrities, A, B, C, D, F listers, are able to make a little bit of extra money doing it by, I can't think of the right word, by just doing what society is doing anyway,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't have an issue with it. Does it seem a little cheap? Sure. But hey, bills aren't cheap. So if they can make money doing it,
No, I know, but to me, it's one of those. It just makes me feel like you're lowering yourself to earn money.
are you though? In whose standards?
I guess maybe in my standards, like you see people that are just accepting money from people because, oh, I'm going to show you a photo shoot in a bedroom and all. And like, I, I that's not something that I'm particularly interested in spending my money on.
And that's why you're nuts.
And I just feel like you could go other places for that. I feel like you could do, like, for me, Patreon was born out of the idea that YouTube was changing their algorithms so that content creators were no longer being paid what they were previously being paid through YouTube's services.
Okay.
So then YouTube creators would then link to their Patreon account
Hmm.
in their YouTube videos so that people could go and donate and
Sure.
kind of would have a little bit more control over their earning revenue.
Okay.
And I just feel like some people kind of took that and went in a completely different direction with it that it was not intended for.
Well, I think the word intended may be um, not used correctly, because we haven't interviewed the creators of Patreon. We don't know exactly
That's true.
what the goal and design of that website, or service was for. Um, I don't know. I mean, it's free will. You choose what you're spending your money on. I agree with you. I also choose not to spend my money on that. But in my early 20s, I might have.
Probably, yeah. And certainly different stages of your life you're going to be into different things and whatnot. But uh, I just think at this stage, it's not like when I go to Patreon, I don't want to go through a bunch of different feeds and worry about, you know, seeing somebody's nude set. I don't need that. I want to go for people that are creating worthy content and physical something that I could physically use.
So are you saying at the age, if correct me if I'm wrong, you're 34, correct?
I am 34.
So 34 is the year KB doesn't want to see titties anymore. Is that what you just said? Is that
Well,
what you just said publicly?
I don't need to see titties. Like I don't need to pay to see boobs.
No, but you were saying just scrolling through,
Yeah,
you wouldn't want to see that.
I don't. I shouldn't say I shouldn't want to see that. I don't need to see that at this stage of my life.
See, I go back to Ron White.
Okay.
Ron White had a bit. For those that don't know, Ron White is part of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour. Very funny comedian, and there was, God, this was probably 10, 15 years ago. He had a bit where once you've seen one pair, you want to see them all, no matter how old and flappy they are. But
Yeah. See, I disagree
and
with that.
I'm not necessarily to that degree, but boobies,
No. No.
boobies.
No. I think I might have low testosterone. I don't know what it is. At 34, I don't have a desire to go just to see some random chick's boobs.
Well, I also agree with that. I mean, how many times in our 20s did we go to strip clubs, and now, I mean, how many times have you visited me in Vegas, and how many times have we gone to strip clubs? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can count on one hand the amount of times and make a zero out of it.
No, I think we went once, didn't we?
Nope.
Oh no,
We know of somebody who owns a strip club, but we've never been.
not owns. Was
He was
manager.
manager. Okay.
Yeah. Oh
So
no, we went to the toy shop.
yeah, yeah, that was a great introduction to Vegas. Here,
We'll,
welcome to
we'll get
Vegas.
it.
We're gonna take you to a toy shop. Oh, cool. What kind of toy shop? Oh, that kind of toy shop.
Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into that topic, I'm sure, at some point, because we got to tell that story in full at some point, because that was fun just watching the crazy looks on your face. Well, I mean, hey, you never been to Vegas. I want to give you the Vegas experience.
Give me the
as a
Vegas
tourist.
experience. I'm thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna go see Count's Customs and we're gonna go see American Restoration. No, you take me to a toy shop.
Hey, you did see all of that stuff too.
I did, but that wasn't what was on my list of things to see.
I know, but now that you saw it, you don't need to worry about seeing it again, because I put it on your list for you.
If I really wanted to, I could have gone to Spencer's and gotten the same type of stuff.
Agree to strongly disagree. Strongly disagree.
All right, there may be a little bit more provocative things over at the place that you went to, but
There
Spencer's
definitely was.
Spencer's has the same types of things, and again,
Yes.
just not something that's a part of my life.
Yes, but if you're over the age of 21 and are allowed into other establishments, you should not be still going into Spencer's. I think they put your picture on the wall at your age, KB, if you're going into Spencer's.
Yeah, no, I've been through Spencer's. I've actually been to one of our local malls in maybe the last month, and walking by a Spencer's was like, wow, I have really changed, because there's no desire or interest to go and buy band T-shirts and pins and all those things that you would do.
Exactly. But going back to our we took a hard left there somehow.
We did.
But I get what you're saying about Patreon. I don't see a big of a problem with it, because there's still a market for it. I mean, if there's still a market for it and it's not going against the terms of service of the company, then I don't see an issue with it. I mean, yeah, I agree. It's not something I'm going to pay for either, but hey, make your money.
Yeah, again, I guess it just comes down to a personal taste. So what I'm going to Patreon for is different than what other people are using it for, and I think that's where I'm kind of maybe prudish in a sense, where it's like, I don't want to go there for that. I want to go and I want to see people's work and see what they're creating and building and support that.
Oh, he's only 34, folks, but somehow he's older than a goddamn grandfather.
It's like cam girls. It's like, okay, I don't need to see a girl on camera and pay for that. It's just, to me, it's the same principle. And I think there's other areas you could go and do that. And yes, like you said, if it's not violating Patreon's terms of service, they're free to do that. It's just not what I'm going to Patreon for.
Do you have a solution, a suggestion, or did you just want to bitch about it?
I just wanted to bitch about it because I haven't bitched in a while, and you told me the last time that I had to be more myself, and more of myself means bitching about things. So you're
You're
welcome.
still you're still too tame. You're not the KB that you once were. I mean, you're complaining that you're seeing boobies.
Because I don't. I don't know. I'm old.
Yeah, you are. You are. You're fucking you're Walter from
Watch your
Jeff.
language, by the way. It's inappropriate.
How can I watch it? I'm hearing it. You're Walter from Jeff Dunham's puppet collection.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people
Oh my God.
I tell people all the time that I'm a 34 trapped in an 84-year-old's body.
Trust me, that's the truth. I've heard you crack like an 84-year-old.
Because I get mad, even though I rent, I still get mad when people go along our like outside patio area. It's like, get off my property.
Yeah, I can see that.
So, the solution to that was just I need to close the blinds now so that I don't get angry at seeing other people walk by.
Yeah, that's not a. Please don't. You're gonna end up in jail.
Well, if I do, you'll probably be the second person I call.
I hope I'm not the first. I can't bail you out as easy as other people. No, no. If I won't take offense to that. That's fine.
Yeah. So, that was my rant for the day.
All right, you gave me absolutely no way to segue into a different topic from there. So, KB's old and prudish is what we're discovering. The dynamics have clearly changed in the past 12 years since we started the Cruisin Cripples. KB used to be a little more outlandish, and I think there's that vibe in there somewhere. I'm trying to pull out, but that didn't sound right.
Please.
Anyway,
I don't want to know anything about you pulling out. Let's just leave that alone. But I'll give you a comparison. Howard Stern. If you listen to Howard Stern today,
yes,
he's not the Howard Stern you listened to 20 years ago.
Can do I have time for a rebuttal?
You have time for. We don't have a time frame, so you have as much time as you like.
Howard Stern today is 65.
Right.
I'm not done. 20 years ago, Howard Stern was 45.
Correct.
You're still only 34.
So I'm modeling myself after him. If he could change, then so can I.
But you got to get to the age to change.
No, I don't. I can choose to go early.
I may make you go early. Jesus.
Listen, the way that I've lived, if I haven't gone early yet, then I'm not going.
We are going to either have a very fun autobiography or very fun biographic one day with some of the stories that we've lived, some of the things that we've seen and done. There will have to be a lot of name changes to protect the innocent and also the guilty parties. It's yeah.
It's funny because I look back and I'm like, I can't believe we did some of those things. And looking back today, it's like, I don't want to do any of those things anymore.
No, I agree with you. We did some things that I would not do today. That's for sure. By any stretch of the imagination.
I don't want to interrupt Julie Newmar during a press conference.
You don't want to get a handy under the table from Julie Newmar. Things like that.
That never happened. Let's just clear that right up right now. That never happened.
2 against 1, believe it did.
You can't say that because you didn't see anything happen. So
I saw the smile on your face.
I was just happy somebody was giving me attention.
Yeah, I bet.
I was very lonely growing up, so I looked for attention anywhere I could find it.
Well, I mean, if it's going to be from Catwoman, who's going to say no?
Right, and in her signature, she told me that I was perfect.
Oh, I saw.
So
Don't you have that frame somewhere?
it's framed, it's framed and on display in my apartment.
All right. Again, no idea how to segue out of the conundrum we're in, KB. Um, all I can say is you need to come on. Let's have some fun with this. Don't be so grandpa-ish.
I can't help it. I've gotten old.
You know, change your surroundings. Get out of a closet. Be exciting in life.
Well, I don't know how to do that. It's just I live in my little bubble, and I don't want to come out of it. It's comfortable here. It's spacious. Some would say you could feel a little trapped, but I think there's enough room in here for me, and I like it.
For you and all the body parts. But anyway, what else we got on tap today, KB? Because I'm just sad that I thought I was going to be doing this show with my best friend, but I got some old guy instead. What the hell?
Well, the other thing I wanted to get into was the fact that CBS has kind of taken the initiative to make an attempt at hiring more people with disabilities for their television shows. So anything that goes to pilot, they're supposedly going to be making more of an effort to try to hire people with disabilities for roles in those piloted programs.
Are they trying to? And I didn't read the entire thing, so you'll be my fact checker.
Mm-hmm.
Did it state that they're just trying to hire people with disabilities for roles, or people with disabilities for roles for people with disabilities?
I think there might be a little bit of both. I know in what I read, it seemed as though it was more the actual roles of characters, and
Okay.
not necessarily behind the scenes type.
Okay.
I
Sure,
think,
sure.
I think because there's been this push to try to get more representation, more accurate representation of people with disabilities in Hollywood.
Which is 100% true, but the issue in my personal opinion, the problem is that every sitcom, every movie, whatever the case may be, that has a person with a disability in it, like that's their character.
Correct.
That's what their character is. Instead of it just being, hey, that guy has glasses on. It should be, in my opinion, in such a passing thing that, okay, yeah, he may be in a wheelchair, he may be on crutches. Oh, that guy's blind, whatever. But it's not the focal point of their character and their means of what their life goes through. It, to me, it needs to be seen as a normality, if that makes sense.
Right. Well, I think part of this stems from the idea, or not the idea, stems from the fact that Bryan Cranston, I forget the movie, but I believe it was him and Kevin Hart.
Yes.
And in the movie, Bryan Cranston plays a quadriplegic.
Yes.
Now, anybody that knows Bryan Cranston knows that he has full use of his body, upper body, lower body.
Yes.
He's not a quadriplegic.
No, he's an able body.
So there was kind of this outcry of, well, why couldn't you find a legitimately quadriplegic person to play that role?
There's plenty of reasons why. I'd say we're probably still 20 years away from that. And the problem is, Bryan Cranston has name value. Bryan Cranston was on one of the, although I wasn't a fan of it, one of the largest sitcoms of this generation. He also was on a hit show where he decided to make meth. He has name value, and if you're doing a big budget movie, you want people with name value. you want people with the experience. They're not the disabled community is not getting that experience as of today, and that's the problem. It needs, in my opinion, it needs to be a slow build. Play the protagonist's best friend, things like that to make the masses and mainstream comfortable with seeing a disabled person in the forefront. But it's not going to happen overnight. But it needs to have that slow build, in my opinion. But I don't have the same outcry that everyone else did with having him in that role, simply because I understand it. There's if you're trying to movies are a business. You're trying to sell tickets.
Right.
Some name that you've never heard of is not going to sell the same tickets as Malcolm in the Middle, as Daddy, or as what the hell was the show
I
where he sold meth,
Breaking Bad.
or the star of Breaking Bad. It's not going to sell the same tickets.
No, and it's called acting. And I would have had a different response 10, 15 years ago.
Sure.
It's called acting, and you get the actor to play the role. Now, you don't necessarily get, a Scotsman to play a Scottish character.
Right.
You get someone and you train them with a dialect coach, and they learn the accent and they act as though they are from that area, or to play that role.
Absolutely.
So it's the same thing. It's Gary Sinise playing Lieutenant Dan. It's Forrest Gump, or it's Tom Hanks playing Forrest Gump.
Yep.
It's their characters, and like you said, there's name value. So in a sense, yes, it would be great to have more legitimately disabled actors playing roles in
Right.
Hollywood. But by having these name valued, Hollywood actors play these roles with very specific disabilities, you're still bringing attention to the disability as a whole.
And help me out here, KB. My memory is not the best. I know yours isn't much better. The topic we discussed on our last show, the Broadway chick.
Yeah,
What's her name?
try not to laugh. Ali Stroker.
Stroker. So I do believe, whether she wanted to be, whether she chose to be, whether it was even her intention, I do believe the publicity that she has gotten, I think, is she's going to be looked upon as a pioneer in the entertainment business 50 years from now when it comes to people with disabilities. I believe the fact that she was able to win awards for her performance, nothing to do with her disability, I think it's going to start a focus of allowing people to pick the best person for the role. And if that person may actually have a disability, whether the role calls for it or not, then I think we need more of that. And I think we're seeing a change. I don't know if you and I will live long enough to see the full change, but I also didn't believe you and I would live long enough to see some of the changes we've seen when it comes to the LGBTQ community either. And just people being able to be presented in their I can't think of the right word. In their I can't think of the right word. I need more coffee, I guess. In just being their true selves, I guess. Whether that comes with added character snippets or bonuses, so be it.
Mm-hmm. I think part of it too, it goes back to what we talked about in the last show, was the world at large is not prepared for people with disabilities. It's not designed for people with disabilities.
No, I
in
mean,
mind.
we are a minority, so of course that's true.
So when you get these Hollywood actors to play these roles with disabilities in mind, you have some sort of control over that.
Sure.
If Bryan Cranston playing a quadriplegic is a lot different than a quadriplegic playing that role. There's a lot of different factors that would then go into having that person on set.
Oh, absolutely.
There'd be a lot more. I don't want to say precautions taken, but lots of extra, handlers that might need to be in place, and by just having an able-bodied person play that role, you know, the the studio has a little bit more control over the environment that they're in.
No, I get what you're saying, and I definitely don't disagree with you.
I'm not saying
Again,
it's right.
no, no, of course, I definitely. I mean, I don't think it's right or wrong. I just think it is as of today. But I do see the news with Ali Stroker and her accomplishments. I do seeing it being a giant leap for the disabled community when it comes to the entertainment industry. It's just, again, we need to have roles where you play the guy's best friend. You play a role that where the disability isn't even mentioned.
Right, and
We need to get to that point.
we do. And I think talent is talent, regardless of whether you're disabled or not disabled, or a quad or a paraplegic, or any semblance in between. Yeah, I see a lot of these talent shows where yeah, we'll have a singer who's blind,
Hmm.
and the judges are like, "Oh my God, that's so amazing! You're blind and you can sing." One is not predicated on the other.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure your vision doesn't affect your singing.
I guess I don't
I
know.
mean, maybe I'm not safe to make that assumption, but like they treat these people with disabilities like, oh my God, it's such a wonderful thing that you can't see but you can sing. Okay, well, what's the difference between an able-bodied singing? You're still looking at the talent. The emphasis shouldn't be on the difficulty of getting onto the stage to showcase the talent.
I agree with you to the degree that we're talking about physical disabilities. Um, there was one singer in particular. I don't know the gentleman's name, so I can't help you there. But I
Hmm.
believe he was on America's Got Talent. He was a blind guy who I believe sang and played the piano.
Hmm.
He also is autistic. Um, is on the spectrum, and I think from that standpoint, when you have those other factors, when you factor in intellectual challenges, um, I think getting on that stage and being in front of the crowd, that should be commended.
Hmm.
I actually have a dear friend who is on the spectrum, and I knew that person for a couple of years before I actually found out they were on the spectrum. But every little kind of nuance of their personality made a little bit more sense to me. Why they were a little bit more distant, why they were quiet in some situations, shut down. Um, so when it comes to that, when it comes to more of the intellectual side of things, I think there should be some praise because their brains aren't hardwired in the same way yours and mine.
Hmm.
I need more coffee. Yours and mine are in. So getting up there in front of a crowd could be the thing that causes them to maybe have a meltdown, but they got through it. So
Sure.
in that instance, that's the only reason or only aspect or caveat, I should say, where I would throw in that I would feel that is okay to kind of pander a little bit.
Hmm.
If
No.
it's just a disability where they're just climbing some steps or rolling up a ramp, then whatever.
Right now, and I agree with you to that effect. I absolutely am with you. In other instances where I think it would be okay to maybe pander is if you have somebody that's in a wheelchair that's competing in a strongman competition or some sort of obstacle course.
Okay.
I see a lot of. I've been seeing a lot of people videos of people in wheelchairs who are are at the gym and are doing like these monkey bar kind of things. So they're in the
Yes.
chair, but they're strong enough to pull themselves up and go
Okay.
across the monkey bars,
Okay.
from one end to the other.
Okay.
That's pretty damn impressive. Whether or not you're disabled or not, that's a pretty impressive thing to do.
I guess, but you know what? I've got a problem with that. I
Okay.
actually do. I'm glad you brought that up. I have a severe problem with those types of people.
What's wrong with those people?
And I don't mean those people in a negative context. I understand how that phrase can be taken. Here's the thing: if you look at most of those videos, just think back as I'm asking this question, KB. Most of those videos, are they or are they not mostly amputees?
Um, the ones that I have seen have not been amputees.
So the ones you've seen are the ones more strapped to their chairs.
Correct.
Okay. So I've seen both. I've seen a lot of amputees doing it, and then I've seen the ones KB has seen as well, where they are was strapped down to their wheelchairs and are doing up the pull up bars and things like that. Here's why I have the problem. It gives a false sense to the able-bodied community that, oh, if you put enough effort into these activities, anyone in a chair could do this.
Hmm.
Here's the thing: I don't have the ab muscles to do that shit,
No, that's true. You don't, and
and
nor do
and
I.
right, and well, actually, I think you would be able to do it a lot easier than me. From the core standpoint, I don't know how your shoulders would give out at this point, but I do believe your core, you have way better core than me. I mean, you can stand and walk, and that's all core muscles.
Hmm.
Well, sort of walk.
Sort of more. It's more of a waddle.
It sure is, kind of like a penguin, but
Totally cool.
it is totally cool. I like watching it, especially from behind. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, it just, to me, it gives a false sense of what you can and cannot expect from disabled people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm fat and I need to get in better shape. I need to work on my fitness, but I will never be doing some of those things simply because the level of where my disability is. I don't have those muscles.
Hmm. And going back to a little bit to what you said, where it gives people a false sense of,
Yeah.
oh, I can do that too. Yeah, that's one of the things that I hope we can maybe accomplish with our podcast in some way, is that we can show people that there are differences, and
Yeah.
not everybody in a wheelchair has the same level of strength or core muscle capability that somebody else might have. And
Very true.
I mean, that was one of the things that was so great when you and I were younger playing wheelchair basketball. You had different levels of capabilities there, not in terms of athletic ability, just in terms of
Physical.
functionality.
Yeah. Functionality. Yeah.
I mean, and you had a better understanding of this than I did. They did it via like a point system, so you were given,
Yes.
each individual was given a point value of, what was it, like 1 to 3, and
When we were playing, it was 1 to 3. The NWBA since then has adopted the international system, so it goes from point 0.5 to 4.5 now.
okay. And basically, what that means is, I, and you can speak better to this than I will be able to, but essentially, it's what level of functionality you have being
Yes.
in a wheelchair, whether or not you have any core muscle, and whether you can bend and reach down to pick up the basketball from your wheel, or have any sort of trunk stability that's going to keep you from falling out of your chair.
That is definitely part of it. Trunk stability is part of it. Loss of limbs is a part of it. Not just legs, but if you're missing fingers or a hand, your classification is different. In today's game, I am classified as a 3 out of 4.5.
Hmm.
In the old system, I was a two. Actually, I may be a 3.5 now. In the old system, depending on the classifier, I was a 2 or a 3. I think I'm closer to a 2 in the old system, but I think I'm a 3 or 3.5 now. I think I'm closer to a 3, just simply because I do need one of the tests they do. You're sitting in a chair in your wheelchair and you lean forward with your chest. Are you able to get back up without touching your wheels? Can you just push yourself?
Can you just push yourself back up? Yeah, I got you.
Right, which I can. So it really depends on the day and the time. Sometimes I put my hand on my chair and push. Sometimes I do have the stability to do it. So, um, yeah, kind of lost my train of thought. Sorry. What were we talking about?
No, so we were just talking about how people in wheelchairs have different abilities and
Yes,
how you don't want, um, I guess the public as a whole to think that, oh, just because this person is in a wheelchair and is capable
exactly.
of doing this one task, that everybody in a wheelchair should be then capable of doing that task.
And going back to your original point there, when we were younger playing wheelchair basketball in the Philly area, it it changed my life so much for the better. I mean, my first tattoo was dedicated to wheelchair basketball because it changed my life and gave me me. I don't want to say meaning and purpose, but it made me feel like that there were adaptations where I could still feel as a part of something, as all the people I went to high school who played on the high school team or the
Mm-hmm.
middle school. I was a part of something, and I have to give all the credit in the world. KB and I played in a summer and into our early 20s. We were playing in mainly in an adult league. We were actually, um, I don't know if KB was part of that or if it was the year later he started playing, but I remember me and a couple of other people were the very first teenagers ever allowed to play in this summer league. Um, and it was pretty cool, but I remember playing with a couple of quadriplegics who just played on the summer basketball teams to stay in shape for their quad rugby seasons. And I swear to God, man, to this day, there's no one that can move their chairs better than these quad rugby players. Uh, Even with my abilities, with the limited trunk stability I have, some of those guys I could never get past down the court. And it's one of those things you can't really judge that book by the cover. Um, they'll probably never make a basket. They don't have the arm strength um, to hit the rim, but they will defend your team until the end. I remember a few instances where we were playing and the best player was being guarded by the quad, and it actually worked.
Now, I'm hoping you can give maybe a little bit better clarification just for people that might not um, be understanding. Like when you say
Absolutely.
when you say quad, like quadriplegic,
Hmm.
I think most people think of, like we'd mentioned before, Brian Cranston, where he's unable to move from the neck below.
Sure.
So if you're a quad, how are you then able to play wheelchair, rugby or basketball? Like how are you able to move your chair?
Well, just like different levels of paralysis, there are different levels of being a quadriplegic. You can have your injury at the chest level and still have movement of your arms, but maybe not your hands.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I just wanted to clarify because
No, I get you.
I think some people might have a misunderstanding of what it means to be a quadriplegic.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of quadriplegics that I've dealt with are able to live, normal, everyday, very independent lives. They may need a little bit of I don't want to even say assistance, but adaptations in their everyday lives to make it work. I mean, one of my mentors, whether he intended to be one or not, when I was playing in the summer league, was a quadriplegic, really, really great guy who I still think of often to this day for helping me out. He had his own van. It had a lift. He drove. He kind of he couldn't bend his hands; they were just kind of flat out, and he kind of strapped his hand to the steering wheel and was able to go that way. So, like I said, like different levels of paraplegic, there's different levels of being a quad. Not everyone can only move their necks. Some are able to transfer in and out of their own chairs on their own. It's just usually from the chest instead of the neck.
Okay. And I think, again, kind of going back to what we talked about, with the Bryan Cranston stuff, I think that's an area where Hollywood could fare to do some better research in terms of not blanketing disabilities into like what the stereotype has been, and knowing that there are nuances to each person's ability.
Understood. For this specific movie, again, I haven't seen the movie either. I do have an understanding of what the story was. I'm going to disagree with you, just simply because if it was a different type of a quadriplegic, then Kevin Hart would not have been needed as his aide.
No, correct. No, you're right.
So,
Absolutely. I'm just saying, in terms of kind of going forward with trying to develop new roles for characters,
sure.
maybe not use the blanket stereotypes that we've kind of seen bashed over the head for forever.
Oh no, I absolutely agree, and I think that is changing to a small degree, a little bit here and there. It's like I said, I don't think it'll fully change in our lifetime, but I do see it moving in a positive direction.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things that I liked about watching Speechless for the 3 years that show ran.
Sure.
Was, the emphasis wasn't necessarily on the character with a disability; it was more the family as a whole and its inner workings with each other and how they navigate as a family with
Exactly.
with this child that has cerebral palsy.
And the fact, I mean, that show did last only three. Some people could say that show only lasted 3 years, so it wasn't that big of a hit. But I say that show lasted 3 whole years, and it's still being talked about after being canceled.
Yeah.
So again, I don't know that gentleman's name off the top of my head, but I think he's in the same in that same platform, in my opinion, as Ali Stroker, as being one of the people 50 years from now that we're going to look back as pioneers in the entertainment field.
Yeah, I believe his name was Micah Fowler,
Sure.
and I know he's been a spokesperson for the Abilities Expo that usually up in they call it New York, but it's really North Jersey.
Yep.
Up in Edison, New Jersey. He's been there. I want to say at least the last 3 years that the show had been on.
Sure.
they,
Sure.
They had him up there as a guest speaker, and so it was great for people to get a chance to have a little Q&A session with him and realize that he doesn't actually need the board, the speaking board.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he can actually speak, and people can understand him, and
Oh yeah.
so that was kind of an exaggerated version of
Definitely.
him on the show.
Absolutely.
But I think that character worked. I think it probably worked better utilizing that feature than if they actually gave him the speaking role himself.
No, I absolutely agree. I think they had a tool to use, and they implemented it perfectly when it came to that character. I don't think it would have been as sought after of a thing if he would have spoken on his own. I mean, there were the comparisons to Stephen Hawking and other types of people who are seen as brilliant. So I think having that there made people want to see where it was going to go.
Hmm.
So I don't have any issue with them taking that creative liberty.
No, no, not at all. Like I said, I think it added an element to the show, and it showcased a different need because now you have aides and caretakers, and showing that interaction between the person with a disability and you know
Right.
the caretaker or the
Yep.
aide or the special whatever the caregiver essentially. Um,
Sure.
so I think going forward, if they could just kind of take that experience and grow with it and find ways to implement those subtle things into their characters going forward, I think it would
Hmm.
be a really helpful thing. Like I said, I don't think you need to hammer it over the head and be like, "This is my disability," and it's all about the fact that I'm disabled and blah blah blah. I
Right.
think Speechless did a very nice uh, production of showing a family as a whole and not putting the emphasis specifically on the character with a disability.
I absolutely agree. I mean, I didn't get into the show. Not just I think there was something else on at the same time that I was more invested in. The older I get, I just have trouble. We were actually talking about this before we went on air. The older I get, the more I just have trouble investing in new shows, trying to figure out how to put the next 8 years of my life dedicated to watching it every week or whatever it is. It's just not the same to me as it. Priorities change, I guess.
Yeah, and you never know what show's going to be a success when it first airs. Like,
Exactly.
no, I don't know if anybody thought The Big Bang Theory, for example, was going to run for 12, 13 years.
I did not,
And
but I'm glad it did. It's my favorite show of all time.
and correct me if I'm wrong, and I know you'll gladly do so. Um, Sheldon, and I'm not 100% correct on this, but to me that there seem to be like subtle like autistic tendencies there
They they
without ever saying so.
that's exactly correct. They wanted to imply
Hmm.
that Sheldon was on the spectrum
Hmm.
for sure.
And I think if that's the case, then I think they did that, and I think they made at least made me curious. Like, I wonder because that just doesn't seem like
Right.
normal everyday behavior.
No, absolutely, and I do. That was always kind of in my opinion what they were going for. He always seemed to what they call have Asperger's.
Hmm. And so when I talk about being subtle, it's those are the types of things that I think are good in trying to get people that aren't familiar with disabilities comfortable.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know how well CBS is going to do with this implementation, but it'll be nice to know that um, they are actively making an effort to try to find more characters with disabilities and finding disabled people for those roles.
And that's the biggest thing. You got to at least try. You got to make an effort before you say it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. That you do. That's all I have to say about that.
All right. What else we got going on, KB?
Oh, that's it. That's those were the biggest things I wanted to get into today.
All right. Oh,
So
I got a couple audibles. Let's throw some fun stuff in there.
all right, some fun facts.
No fun facts.
Oh, no.
Just some fun
Oh,
topics.
okay. I'm old.
You,
Remember,
s-
I don't do fun.
you, you'll enjoy this.
Oh boy, I'm scared.
No, it's nothing awful. As we mentioned, I believe we quickly mentioned it last week. Both KB and I are big wrestling fans. It's been a big part of our lives for 20, 30 years, however long it may be.
25.
There's For you, it's 25 years. For me, it's 29.
WrestleMania 10.
Saturday night's main event, January 1990.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what hooked me. I do remember watching a match from 1989 but I don't remember there being much in between that. So either 89 or 90. I want to say 90 is when I really got into it. It's when I started, checking out the TV guide when the next show was going to be on, watching any and all wrestling I could.
Does TV Guide still exist anymore?
I have no idea. I honestly have no idea,
Because
but it was a
I was gonna say just because I think it's all on demand now. Like I think you could just go to your TV and just hit the guide channel.
probably.
I don't know if the TV Guide exists in a physical form anymore.
Do you remember when there was actually a TV guide channel?
God, we're old. Yes,
Yeah.
back in my day.
But right, you had to go to a special channel to see what was playing on your TV,
Yes.
and you had to make sure you didn't scroll past it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those were the days. Anyway, sidetrack there. There's some interesting happenings going on in the wrestling world. I don't really care to get into the WWE stuff as much, but KB, I do want to get your take on All Elite Wrestling. I know you watched their latest product, Fighter Fest, the other evening. I have watched most of it. I do know what happened, so no fear of spoiling the rest for me. And I mean, it's a few days old at this point when we're recording this. So if anyone has not seen it and would like to, stop listening now and watch it, and then come back to us.
Yes, you can go to BR Live or Bleacher Report Live and find make an account with them and watch for free.
Exactly, but I do want to get your thoughts on the show, the product, the creative direction, everything. What are your thoughts on what you saw? What did you like? What did you not like? What can change? What needs to stay the same?
Well, one thing that I liked was they are doing a very good job, at least in my opinion, of being an alternative to WWE, which is what they've said from the very beginning.
Absolutely.
We're not going to be WWE. If you want to watch WWE, that's great. You can watch
Yeah.
it. We're just going to be a different type of promotion. And from their presentation to their production, it has been very different. The look is different. The feel is different. WWE is a very PG friendly product right now. Being a publicly traded company, they have advertisers to worry about, and you don't want to upset them, and so forth and so on. So they're very PG friendly, and that's fine. All Elite Wrestling is, from what I have seen so far, is very much geared towards the 18 to 35 or 18 to 34 demographic, whichever one we fall into. There is very much
Something like that.
very much geared towards the adults. Some wrestlers, from a WWE background, some never touched a WWE ring in their life. So, it was cool to me to see people I'd never seen or heard from. Maybe they had careers in Japan, in some other independent companies throughout the country. It was cool just to see a different presentation of wrestling and the emphasis be on wrestling.
I am gonna kind of put you on the spot because you are a little bit more conservative than I am in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna bring up a name that competed at All Elite Wrestling, and I want to get your opinions on that wrestler and what your feelings are.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Nyla Rose.
The first transgender wrestler, as I
Yes.
understand.
The first open
Open
transgender,
gender.
at least. Yes.
I wasn't sure how to feel about that. Again, whatever you want to do with your body is your business and so forth and so on. I just know there's probably going to be some people that are like, oh, how could they do that? And,
Of course.
you know,
But that's life. That's
that-
going to
yeah,
happen.
That's going to happen no matter where you are in life. So I was concerned more from the standpoint of how would other wrestlers
Sure.
react. Like, and again, maybe this is a too conservative of a view, because to me, however, whatever you're born is what your gender is. Like now, whether you decide to change that later, that's fine. But whatever you're born as is what you are. So if you were born a male, you're a male. If you're born female, you're a female. No, you change that later in life, that's fine. You can identify as the opposite sex. So, but I didn't know like if wrestlers would think, well, it's still really a man, and it's a man wrestling a woman. Like that was kind of where my thoughts went. From an athletic standpoint, it was amazing. That's looking at Nyla Rose. I wouldn't be like, oh, that's a transgender wrestler. Like that never crossed my mind. It was never an issue watching. So I didn't care. Like that's not an issue for me. But knowing how society looks at people that are different and make different choices in life, wondering how that would affect their standing in the company. So I don't know. That's very dominating woman in the ring, and I thought very talented, and I think is kudos to All Elite Wrestling for embracing that type of difference.
I have to agree with a lot of what KB said there. I know would be a hot button topic, so I definitely wanted to get into it. I also had my reservations when I found out that they had signed Nyla Rose, All Elite Wrestling signed Nyla Rose, not because I thought she couldn't perform or anything like that, but because of some people's bigotry and just discrimination, their not understanding of the of what it is to be transgender, and it for our generation, it's still a very new thing. The transgender population has kind of been able to be themselves more in the last 10 years than they have ever before. So, as a country, we're getting more comfortable with it, and everyone knowing that Nyla Rose was born a male, I wondered how they were going to build her character, how they were going to build her as a wrestler. Was she just going to dominate because she is bigger than most of the other wrestlers, not all of them, but most of the other women wrestlers. She is significantly larger, both in stature, height, as well as muscle development. But I think they've done a marvelous job kind of having a mix of her being this Amazon woman who can beat the hell out of you, but she's not impervious to other people's pain.
Right.
And I was worried they were going to go that route with her.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the triple threat match she was in the other night was really well done. I'm not usually a fan of triple threat matches because there usually seems to be just one person sitting on the outside not doing anything. Right. But I think they did a pretty decent job of getting all three involved, and I think Nyla Rose really showed herself to be an outstanding performer. I thought it was a hell of a match.
It was, and again, kind of to what you were saying, I think if she were in the WWE, they would have found some sort of way to like make the fact that she was transgender
exactly
a bigger issue than it needed to be.
Right. It's never been mentioned once on AEW television. It's just known.
Whether for comedic purposes, because WWE has a tendency to take real life and mix it into their storylines, so you're not sure what's real, exactly. what's part of the show. And I like that AEW it's about the wrestling. It's not about the other stuff that doesn't affect what goes on in the ring.
The word you're looking for is bullshit. It's not about the other bullshit.
Well, yeah, it's not about the nonsense.
I said bullshit.
And I said nonsense.
Say it with me, Grandpa. Bullshit.
Right. I'm going to have a lot of bleeps to get through today.
Are you really going to edit me?
I can't edit you.
good.
I haven't been able to do it in 23 years.
Holy shit! Yeah, it'll be 23 years this September.
Yeah. So I liked that about AEW is they don't strike me. Now maybe they might change that once they start doing television and
Sure.
have more of a weekly product. But I liked that there wasn't an emphasis on her being transgender, and it was just about the wrestling. And to me, that's been the overall aspect that I've gotten from them is that it's just about the wrestling.
And I absolutely agree. Like I said, I'm not completely finished watching the show, but from what I saw, I've absolutely enjoyed. It's not. How do I word it? There's something for every person, whatever type of wrestling you enjoy.
Yeah, and there's some stuff that would be very reminiscent of 1997 ECW. In 1997, I enjoyed that. In 2019, that's not what I'm watching wrestling for.
It makes me a little uncomfortable to see some of the things that did happen. Um, I'm very. I mean, all right. Let's go behind the curtain for just a moment here. I really don't like to publicly do it, but it is what it is. Cody Rhodes was hit in the head with a steel chair by Sean Spears, and he needed, I don't remember how many staples in his head to close that. 12 staples to close that wound in his head. In 2019, with the knowledge of CTE, in my opinion, there is absolutely no reason to ever hit someone in the head with anything. However, go ahead.
I was just going to add to that. That's one of the things that makes me laugh about wrestling is that they have steel chairs, they have all these wooden tables under the ring. They're just lying around under the ring like we don't know that they're there.
Oh, I know. I agree.
At this point, I don't think you need all that.
You don't. You absolutely don't. However, the old school fan of me, going back to AEW's first show, while I think it was a little too gruesome, I do think the blood that was in the Dustin Rhodes and Cody match was a useful tool. Mm-hmm. I'm not for hitting you in the head with anything metal or anything like that, but if you wanna do a little slice on your forehead, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah,
I know it's kind of weird balance, but yeah.
I like my violence to look like violence, but not really be violent.
Exactly. Exactly.
And I kind of think that that's one of the things that people that aren't fans of wrestling don't understand. It's like,
right.
Well, you like MMA, and that's legitimate violence, and you like boxing, and that's legitimate violence. And wrestling is more choreographed violence. But yeah, there was just some moments where I was just like, it looked unsafe, it looked dangerous, and you have to worry about 20 years down the road, and not necessarily today. It's what is that chair to the head going to do to my brain 20 years from now?
Exactly.
I mean, look at Mick Foley.
Well, he's not a very good example because he's just fine.
Well, no, he's had memory loss, and
he's also a best-selling author. I mean, he's not doing so bad.
No, but I think he would admit that he's not doing great either. I mean, great for the condition that he's in, but he's not in the greatest condition that he could be in either.
No.
And that has to do with a lot.
Right, I hear you.
With his wrestling style, with taking chair shots to the head.
No, I agree. And the reason Mick Foley I felt did all of that is he wasn't born with the athletic ability some others were, and he had to do what he had to do to get over in the wrestling business. Would that work today? Probably not. It's a different time, but it's interesting. But I like the way you put that. I like. What'd you say? You like your violence?
I like my
Well,
violence to look like
yes,
violence.
but not necessarily it impact
Yeah.
them for life.
Hmm.
And I absolutely agree with you. I mean, we're smart enough to know what actually takes place. We're also smart enough to know that these performers, male, female, both sides, transgender in this case as well, what they do does hurt.
Yeah.
We know that it's predetermined, but we also know that they are putting their lives at risk. And we want to see exciting stuff, but we don't want to see any risk that doesn't need to be taken.
Right.
Um, Now, I haven't seen the final match, the unsanctioned match with the barbed wire and all of that stuff between formerly known as Dean Ambrose, John Moxley, and Joey Janela. Um, I'm curious to watch that and see the entire story of that match to see if it was overkill or not. What's your thoughts on that?
I was kind of in and out on that match just because I'd been watching for a while, and at that point, it
Sure.
was in my old age. I was kind of ready for bed.
Right. This was like 7:30 at night. For God's sakes.
Yeah, it was well 7:30 by
I,
you. It was 10:30 here, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really ready for bed at this point. Um, I liked the match overall. I don't think they overdid it. I don't think the violence was overdone. I think it was used the way that they used it. I think made sense with the story.
sure.
I think it drove the story further.
Okay.
I don't think they were doing things just for the sake of doing things.
Good, and that makes me happy to hear.
So I enjoyed that match. Like I said, that match and the match with Cody previously, those are the two matches that really stood out to me.
Hmm.
I don't remember much from the early part of the show as far as matches go, but presentation wise, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a little bit more. I don't want to say grungy, but it had more of a grunge type production to it. It didn't look. Their camera work didn't look always so finessed and perfect.
Which I kind of liked in a sense because, yes, we know it's predetermined. Yes, we know the outcomes are decided before they go to the ring. But there was a little bit, with the way the camera work was shot, there was a little bit of spontaneity,
Yeah, I
in my
like
opinion.
I like it too because with the at least with the WWE, you know things are so choreographed that they're gonna shoot, they're gonna switch to certain cameras to get certain angles on moves and things
Yes,
like that.
absolutely.
If you can have a little bit of spontaneity and not know which which camera should be the right camera to use, I'm okay with that a little bit.
I absolutely agree. I think it adds a little bit of a flair to it. But I'm excited. I do think we're in a pretty fun time for wrestling. This is actually the first time in my 30 years or so of being a wrestling fan that there's actually too much wrestling for me to catch up with all of it. I mean, let's start listing the promotions that you can watch on a weekly basis now. You can watch WWE, which has at least 8 hours of new content. Let's see, 3, 5, 6, 7 hours of new content every week. 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of SmackDown, 1 hour of NXT, and 1 hour of NXT UK.
Oh wow,
That's every week.
that's every okay.
That's every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
That's too to me now that to me is too much. Just
To me,
from one product, that is too much.
they're all. I disagree only because they are different enough.
Hmm.
At least NXT is to me. Raw and SmackDown are the same. But NXT to me is a different enough product. But you have that. You have Major League Wrestling, which airs on, I believe, Fight TV. You have All Elite Wrestling that will be getting a show on TNT this fall. You have Ring of Honor, which has the syndicated shows. you have there's just so many. You can watch New Japan every week on Access TV. There's just so much of it, and as a wrestling fan, I'm a little overwhelmed because I don't want to miss any of the good stuff. But with being an adult, or as adult like as I get, I have to decide what's worth watching this week. And I've missed. I mean, Impact is still a thing. I think I haven't seen it in many years, but I think that's still a weekly show. There's so many different things that I haven't even mentioned.
Don't worry, the people that work for Impact don't even know if it's a weekly thing or not.
I believe that.
Um, no, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of content, and I look at it in terms of just because it's there doesn't mean I have to watch it.
Exactly.
If I'm not a fan of SmackDown, I won't watch SmackDown. If I don't like NXT,
Yes.
if I don't like NXT UK, I'm not watching NXT UK. It's great to have choices. It's great to not just have one company be inundating your streaming services or your cable networks for shows. So I think like I said, we're in a good time for having a variety of selections to pull from as far as what we want to watch.
I'd like to get into this topic on our next show because I want to wrap up here in a little bit. But I want to get into exactly what you just said there, KB, and talk about the fan base of professional wrestling that makes me want to kill myself. All of these people are complaining about all these shows that they hate, but yet they're watching every week.
Well,
don't fucking watch.
Well, no, because I do that. I hate there are things that I will hate watch. I will watch specifically so that I can hate on it.
Oh, I don't do it. No. Why put that negativity in your life?
Because it makes me happy.
Watch the fucking news. There's enough negativity there.
Well,
Why
no,
put negativity in your entertainment?
I watch the news for that too. You know me. I'm not happy unless I'm mad.
I don't know. We haven't seen that in 2 episodes yet, so I guess.
No, there are
you keep talking a big game.
No, I mean, like tonight, I probably won't watch Raw, or I'll watch knowing exactly how the show is going to be laid out.
Okay, but you better edit this shit fast because you gave away what day we're taping. So by saying that, so you better edit it fast, motherfucker.
I will. So yeah, if there's something that I like, for instance, there is a YouTuber that I watch. I enjoy his show or his video vlogs immensely, but I hate when he adds certain people into them. Like when it's just him, I enjoy it. When he adds other elements to it or other people to his vlog, I don't enjoy it because it takes away from his part of the content, and that's what I'm watching for. So I'll watch, but I'll hate watch because one, I want to see what it is, but at the same token, I hate what I'm seeing because it's not fully what I'm going in expecting to see.
I look forward to discussing this in length with you because that makes absolutely no fucking sense. That's
people people that know me know that that's how I operate.
But that is that's almost the definition of insanity.
Well, no, it is, but there's some things that I just absolutely won't watch. Like I don't watch SmackDown. Well, I'll put it this way. I won't watch during certain times because I know at those times there's content that I'm not interested in seeing.
All right. I'm interested to get into this topic on our next show. We'll definitely discuss that a little bit more in depth. But let's why don't we wrap this bad boy up? I think we got into some some pretty hot button topics today. I do want to thank all the sevens and sevens of people who will be listening to our shows on pretty much any place podcasts can be listened to. We want to thank Anchor for hosting our show as well as distributing it. You can also listen to us on our own website, which is
The CruisinCripples.com. And
we are a .com. That's awesome.
yeah, I'll put a link to that up in the description, and you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. You just have to search Cruisin Cripples. And
Yes, please like us on Facebook. It makes me feel good when we have likes
it does.
or something.
Yeah, it's because it's all about those likes and the follows and
Yeah, that's the type of people we are.
yeah. So we appreciate any support we get going forward.
Exactly. It's been a fun show. I think we've covered quite a bit. If you have any topics you want to discuss, any of those social media sites that KB just mentioned, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, I don't even know all we have because KB is the man when it comes to all that stuff.
Just those three.
Just those three? Okay,
those
good.
three.
That's good enough for me. Please shoot us a message with what topics you want to hear us discuss, disability related or not. I mean, we are fairly versed. We know a lot about a little, or no, we know a little bit about a lot. There we go.
No, we know a little about a little.
Oh shit! Yeah, he's right.
There's a lot we don't know.
He's right. All right, fine. But there's definitely plenty of other topics. We don't want to hold ourselves to just anything. Let's discuss what's on your mind. Let us know. But we do want to thank everyone for listening. We look forward to our next show. We will be back soon. Until then,
keep on rolling.
The podcast you just heard was made using Anchor. Ever thought about making your own podcast? Anchor makes it really easy for anyone to get started. It's a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free. Sign up now at anchor.fm/new. That's anchor.fm/new to get started.